Chris Ballard, the Colts general manager, now joins us. Do you want me to ask you all the questions you were just asked over again?
No, fire away.
All right.
Fire away.
So quarterback-wise, I want to start right here. Is that the full focus going into this draft? Is it quarterback and quarterback only, or are you going to give me that story where you guys are going to stay?
Well, I would rather give you the story that we're going to move back. And
well, I don't know if anybody wants to hear that one. That's a tough story to sell right there.
No, it is a focus, because of the draft, because of where we're at, and the players in the draft. I mean, sometimes it's got to work out. We got to be convicted. We're just getting the coaching staff on board. I want to get their take on it. We need to spend time with these guys. I mean, we've got the tape, and that's the number one thing you're looking at. But then when now the intangibles, now spending time, how can they process, what can they handle mentally, how are they going to handle, the pressures, all that stuff we got to still dig into.
Do you want the team around him to fit the quarterback or the quarterback to fit the team, the guys that you presently have? How do you guys view that?
Well, I mean, look, I think anytime you're going to play to your quarterback's strengths, when you draft a kid, you got to have a plan in play, much like in any player you take. He's got to fit. You got to fit what he does well, into your offense, which I think Shane will do.
So Chris Ballard, who joins us here at the NFL Combine, when you look at the tape, how do you compare the tape you see from these guys to those conversations, those interviews, and then certainly the workouts you end up seeing?
Yeah, the workouts are important, but the tape's the biggest thing. I mean, they're throwing on air, and I've always said that, and I always laugh when they'll say a script, the guy completed 49 of 50 today. Well, freak, I hope so. There's no rush. I mean, he's throwing on air. But the tape, we'll spend a lot of time with these guys, with these players, and much like we do at every position, watching their tape, asking them questions, picking their brain about what they can do, what they've done, good plays they made, bad plays they made. Give us an explanation, and it'll be a good process.
You make any philosophy adjustments to the first 6 years compared to now going into year 7 as far as the makeup, the blueprint of this roster?
I still believe that you win. I still believe you win up front. I still believe you got to be good on the O-line and D-line. I still believe you have to be explosive, and you have to take the ball away on defense. We've got to find a way to create more explosive plays on offense, which, of course, that comes with explosive players. And so I don't know if philosophically, I think I would tell you I've grown in terms of, I do understand the explosive plays are important, but I've always kind of understand that. But it starts up front. It is hard when you can't block people and you don't play good up front.
So Chris Ballard, who joins us, how many explosive players do you believe that you have on this roster right now?
Well, the year before, the same guys were pretty explosive. I mean, Pittman was a good player.
Did we lose some explosion over a season? Is that what happened?
Well, I don't know. We just didn't play good. But I still think Jonathan Taylor is a really explosive player. I think our young tight ends are going to add something. I think Jelani, and Granson are both young players that have a lot of upside potential, and it'll be interesting to see everybody to watch Ogletree, who got hurt, because we think he's a really talented player. I think we saw the good flashes of Pierce as a down-the-field player. And Pittman's been a really good player for us, in terms of, making big catches. And at one point he led the league a couple years ago in most first downs converted at the wide receiver position. So we got work to do. But I don't think it's just completely devoid of talent.
I'm assuming you're going to ask me when I ask this next question, you're going to tell me that, well, we've drafted guys at that position over the past 2 or 3 years. But how much more explosive do you feel you need to be, especially on the outside? And considering what we see, I mean, you were in Kansas City, you see what they have. You see what they lost and still see what they have. Obviously, when Shane was in Philadelphia, had one of the more explosive wide receivers, actually 2 if you want to count that. How much more explosive do you feel that this needs to be, especially with your guys on the outside with individual playmaking ability?
I think you're always trying to add guys that can create after the catch. I think that's an important trait that you're always trying to add. And even comparing it to the teams you talked about, I mean, Philly's done a tremendous job with their players. But I'll tell you this, they're really good up front too, as is Kansas City. And the quarterback in Kansas City makes a lot of things,
sure,
really bright and shiny.
But I mean, you were also a part of that when they brought in those pieces that are also bright and shiny. That seemingly are always there, even when you lose one. It seems like you just shove a couple of others in there, and that works as well.
Yeah.
So, it's Chris Ballard who joins us. What happened to the offensive line? The old WOW players, part of those old WOW players in your philosophy is up front of that offensive line. It didn't work out that way a year ago.
Yeah.
Where did that start?
I think I underestimated plugging into, we had such great continuity. And then when Costanzo retired, even with Eric Fisher, Eric played pretty good football for us, the year before in 21. And then we decided to go young there. We had the growth pains of a left tackle that we think is going to be a pretty good player. And we had a young player at right guard. And I think I overlooked and underestimated the continuity of those five guys playing together, because it's 5 as 1, and they got to be playing together. I do say that once we got into the season, I thought that they played better down the stretch than we did early.
Looked like Ryman played better down the stretch. Do you believe him to be that anchor on the left side?
Yeah, I mean, he's sure trending in the right direction, and he did. He played a lot better. I mean, he had some struggles naturally, like most left tackles do, when they first come into the league. Most of them struggle. But, to his credit, he hung in there, he persevered, he didn't hang his head, he kept working, and he got better as the season went on. So I do think he has a very bright future.
Do you expect this offensive line to move into next year without a change or two along in here?
We'll create competition. Yeah, we'll create some competition there.
Now, through the draft, through free agency, how do we handle that?
Probably both.
Coaching, Tony Sperano Jr. He's a guy that obviously is a legacy. I know he's been an assistant. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's ever held down being a coach of, positionally a unit like this. Because he hasn't done that before, is there any apprehension at all there, or full belief in what he can do with this offensive line that didn't happen a year ago?
Yeah, I think really excited. Shane interviewed 5 or 6 different guys for the position, and he was excellent. And then the recommendations were excellent, not only from coaches but from players. That was really encouraged to see. I know the unknown. Nobody wants to bet on the unknown, but we think he's got great upside. We think he'll do a great job with the guys. We think he'll do a great job connecting, coaching, demanding, and getting the best out of the group.
Were there issues there a year ago?
No.
I don't want you to throw anybody under the bus, but
I wouldn't say that. I said the issues were more from an inexperienced standpoint of plugging in 2 new players into a group. I mean, I think that's the one thing about the offensive line that people don't like. They focus on one guy, but it is literally 5 as 1. They got to play together as a unit. It's almost a team within a team, and it took some time for that to gel.
So Chris Ballard, who is with us, defensively, this kind of occurred to me. In Gus Bradley, has that been solidified yet? I don't know if I've seen you guys say that it's happening. Reports. Gus Bradley is back, right?
Yes.
Here's what I want to get to. Fourth quarter of games, especially in the latter part of the season, was an issue. And certainly while the defense played better wholly than the offense over the course of the season, is there anything that you're looking at, hardcore focused in on why that defense had its struggles, especially in late game situations later on in the season?
Well, yes, and we do have to play better at the end of games. We got to get them off the field. They played a lot of snaps, and that's when you see the attrition is at the end of games. But it's not an excuse. We got to finish. We got to find a way to finish games. And we got to find a way to either finish it by, with a turnover or with a sack.
All right, edge pressure. I liked it when you guys went out and got Yannick Ngakoue. I know he's going to be a free agent. What did you like from him, and is he in the mix to bring back, or are you looking for a little bit something different moving forward here?
No, look, we like Yannick, and he had a really good year for us. Of course, when a guy hits free agency, you never know. You'd like to get everybody back. I think as a group, they played really well. I think they ended up with 45 sacks, which is, pretty good. And we like the development of our young players. We like the development of Dio, how he came on, especially the second half of the year, quitting. We still think Buckner's a premier player. I thought Grover Stewart played as good as any nose guard played in the league last year. Now, but you've got to have get 8 or 9 players where you can rotate them in. So we got some work to do.
This is Chris Ballard with us, the Colts general manager. We're here at the NFL Combine. Shaquille Leonard, full go. Any apprehension whatsoever that he's not going to be what he was a couple of years prior to that injury? Where are you right there?
I'm not going to bet against him. Just because of who he is and how he works. So we're not there yet, but he's working. He's working hard.
Does that at all adjust how you approach in free agency? And this is your own here with Okereke and with EJ Speed.
Yeah, and they're both really good players. I mean, we've done a pretty good job, at that position. They're definitely guys that you'd love to have everybody back, but unfortunately, reality is you don't get them all back. But we think the world of both of them, and we'll visit with the representation and see what we can figure out here going forward.
What do you think about your free agency list? You like bringing back your own, re-signing your own. You got, including Paris Campbell. I didn't mention him offensively on that list. A number of these guys that you definitely would like to have back. Maybe you focus in on trying to get back here.
There'll be a few, and then there'll be some guys outside too that we focus in on.
So you're going to spend big money in free agency? Is that what you're saying?
Just a ton. Just a ton.
So you guys highlight that. Just a ton. Just a ton. So just a ton in free agency. Well, I mean, and I know you got to run here, and I'll let you go. Sorry, Matt. Sorry, Steve. But that philosophically has been your MO to re-sign your own, and you go out in free agency, but you don't overspend. And that was a part of the question I asked you a little bit earlier. With the first 6 years, do you change that train of thought, that philosophy at all?
I guess that's where, we traded for Buckner.
Yeah.
Paid him over $20 million. Now, would you consider that a small contract?
No, that was an investment. Yeah, it was.
That's an investment. We spent good money to go get Yannick. We spent to go get Gilmore. So, and even when we signed, when you look back at the D'Amico Autry's of the world, the Jabal Sheards, it's not like we've been just completely void of going into free agency. Have we gone and got necessarily the biggest fish on the market? No, we have not. And I don't know if that will change much. But I also don't know if that necessarily equates to winning either.
Yeah, well, I'm curious here. Jacksonville went out and got a couple of wide receivers, and one being Christian Kirk, and they were widely panned for doing that. But as an end result, it did work out. Now, I know that they probably wouldn't do that and really didn't want to do that, but they were kind of forced into getting that help for Trevor Lawrence. Do you kind of feel the need to go out and do that for whomever your quarterback is going to be drafted coming up here in the spring?
Well, he's got to be able to play and fit. It'd be easy just to go sign somebody, but he's got to fit what Shane and the offensive staff want.
Well, I'm trying to find out who you're going to draft by asking that. I'm just curious. I mean,
yeah.
Because the weird thing about Shane is he's handled so many different quarterbacks, from Jalen Hurts to Justin Herbert to being with Phillip Rivers, and he's thrived in it all. I'm just trying to get a read on what this offense may look like.
I think over time I think the one thing great about Shane, as you've seen, is that he's been able to adapt. I mean, he's gone from Phillip Rivers to Herbert, to in Philly, where they just totally transformed the offense to fit Jalen Hurts. So I think it all depends on who is playing quarterback, and that's how he'll adjust the offense.
Did he blow you away in the interview process?
He was really good.
What did he blow you away? Because he had to blow you away with a 5-word answer because he's very soft-spoken. He doesn't say too much.
No, but he's all ball. His attention to detail, his conviction in how he wants to do things, his mind. He's got a very fast, creative mind, and he's always thinking of ways of how to fit players and put them in the best position to be successful, which I think he has proven over time he can do.
So he did. Was there anything specific, though, that you would point to in the interview process? You went, all right, this is the guy. Mr. Irsay, this is the guy.
When he talked through, first you could feel him, his presence. When he walked in the room, when he talked and his conviction into it. But then when he talked through about their process in Philly, how they evolved, which I think is good coaching. Like, all right, so we've got Jalen. We got to make Jalen work, which people forget. I think they started out 2-5 or 2-6, a couple years ago, and then they just transformed the offense kind of midstream to fit him. To me, that was a big point where I said, okay, he's very adaptable with whoever he's playing with, whatever players he has.
You figure out how you're going to handle Matt Ryan here?
Now we're working.
Are we going to wait until March for that? Or I guess we're in March right now.
We're actually in March.
Middle March,
yeah,
I guess?
We'll make a decision here next couple.
You don't want to make it right here for everybody? All right. Hey, but spending big money is what you did say, and I have that. We have that here on video. All right, you guys go ahead and go. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Chris Ballard, the Colts general manager, with us.